And so I said this at the beginning, if you missed it, we will eventually at the very end use a wall. So you don't need the wall now. Like you can just drag your mat over to a wall when we get to that point. It's like the last thing we do really. So don't worry about it if you're not near one. So, and just a couple things before we start that's I'm really excited about. We have brand new designs coming out. One of them I'm wearing, it's not even available yet. It's kind of hard to see with this lighting, but it's constellations and they're all there. So cute. So that'll be available, shorts, capris, leggings soon, and bras. And there's a brand new design that I'm super pumped about. It's a summery, colorful design. I won't spoil it for you because it's gonna be great. So keep an eye out for that. All right, 6:31. Looks like most of us are here. I'll put the Spotify link in the chat one more time. Get to that now because I am going to shut down the chat because we don't want people using that for bad. It's already on the Spotify for Blackwater Yoga anyways if you miss it. So I'm turning off the chat. I'm gonna mute y'all. I think you're already muted though. All right, starting Instagram. Cool. All right, so today's class is all about prepping for handstand. I know that sounds scary for a lot of people, and don't be scared because handstand is like this much part of the practice today. The whole handstand aspect is just the peak pose where we take everything that we built up for and we just test it out and see where we're at. That's what the wall is going to be for later on. So it doesn't mean you have to have your handstand, doesn't mean you have to be anywhere near it. We're just going to focus the class on building up to where you feel stronger to do the handstand, okay? So we're starting today on our backs in bridge pose. Actually, not bridge pose, we're just gonna be laying down. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, playlist, I always do this every time. It's always something. All right, playlist, let's do that before we forget that we're doing metal yoga, right? All right, so the first song, we're gonna start in 3, 2, and play. Sounds good. All right, so let's meet on the mat on your backs. Just go ahead, take your time here. Take a moment to get settled. I'm gonna have my knees up to the sky just because we're eventually going to do a bridge and it feels nice on my lower spine to have my knees bent. Everyone take a deep breath in, hold the breath in the lungs. Take a big breath out through the mouth. Maybe take a few more deep breaths in and out through the mouth before we do our normal Ujjayi breath. Ujjayi actually means victorious. I don't know if that will help you focus on your breath. Every breath you take, especially with Ujjayi breath, will help you be victorious in the pose you're doing. I know every yoga teacher says this, but breathing at the beginning of class really helps you arrive on your mat. And it's true, we forget to think about the here and now. We're so busy thinking about the past, thinking about the future. Let's remember this practice is about connecting with your body, your spirit, your mind in this very moment. Connecting with your body and how you feel right now. Not how you want to feel, not how you did feel, but what do you feel like right now? To start, what is your mood like? Are you happy? Are you sad? Energetic? What does your body feel like? Does it feel tired or strong, tight, weak? Does it feel like it needs movement? Take a few more breaths to settle in. Go ahead and hug the knees into your chest. Rock a little side to side. Stay here and rock. I'm just going to adjust the volume of my music to make sure you don't hear it. There we go. And go ahead, release your legs down to the floor, feet to the floor, knees pointed up to the ceiling, knees bent, pressing the feet into the floor, lifting the hips for bridge pose. Pressing the arms down into the floor. I know sometimes we like to shimmy the shoulders underneath for bridge pose, get the shoulder blades closer together, but instead of doing that, let's focus our energy on pressing the feet down and lifting the hips up in the sky. Hold here, find stillness. Press up a little higher. And then we're pulsing for 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and hold, lift higher and lower down. Lift the feet off the floor, knees still bent, flex the feet, bring the ankles in together, knees together. Arms out by either side of you in line with your shoulder, fists down to the floor, maybe make a thumbs up to know that your thumbs are facing up, and you can close your thumbs down into your fist. We're gonna rock the knees over to the right, coming on the right hip, but don't lower the knees to the floor, press into that right fist. Flex the feet. Knees lift up and then to the left, leaning onto your left hip and not lowering down onto that left knee. Using your obliques here, lifting up to the right. Inhale, center, exhale, left. Keep going side to side, inhaling to center, exhaling to the side at your own pace. Going as fast or as slow, but using control, so you're probably gonna wanna do it slower to keep your abdominal muscles working in this pose. Like I said, we're gonna focus on handstands. So we're gonna focus a lot on the core. Do a couple more on each side. Kind of just waking up the abs. Nice job. Kick the feet up in the air, legs basically straight. You can flex the toes or point them, doesn't matter. Interlace the hands behind the head. We're just doing, let's do 15 crunches at your own pace. So go ahead, count on your own. As you do your crunches, try to draw the abdomen in toward the spine. It helps you keep your abs truly engaged as you do this. Try not to use momentum to lift up. And if you lost count like me, I always do that, forget to count. Let's just do a few more. Nice, keep the legs up in the air. From here, we're undoing our fingers, lifting up the hips and lowering the hands underneath the hips. From here, we're actually, instead of lifting the shoulders, we're lifting the hips up in the air for a pelvic tilt. Go ahead, lift up the hips. Pretend you're stamping the soles of the feet into the sky. So here's one way to do it, and this is the way I don't want you to do it, is the swing up and down. And the reason I don't want you to do it that way is because you use momentum instead of core strength. So instead of using momentum, go ahead, slowly make little pulses in the sky. Let's do 12 more. Nice. Almost done. And let's hug the knees into the chest for a small break. Interlace the hands again behind the head, this time the opposite way you did before. We're gonna do some big bikes here. So instead of doing little bikes like this, hugging the knee in, we're gonna straighten the legs. Let's straighten the legs, lower the left leg, right knee comes in, and left elbow comes towards right knee. Lower the right leg, switch sides. Let's do 15 more at your own pace. Almost there. And when you're done, bring the feet down to the floor. Let's take another bridge pose, which can feel really nice after crunches. Nice. And from here, we're gonna rock up to Navasana, boat pose. So find your boat pose. It doesn't have to be huge boat pose up here. Let's just do a little boat pose, lifting the legs, bending the knees, reaching up towards the toes, flexed or bent, doesn't matter. And we're gonna use the core a little bit more here. So we're gonna start to lower down, extend the legs, and then we're gonna draw the knees in and lean up. Let's do 10 of these at your own pace. Good, draw the chest up. Almost there. And lean forward when you're all set, hug the shins. Let the head come down between the knees. Take a few deep breaths. Nice, let's extend the legs forward, coming into a seat, legs extended. So from here, your hands will go next to your hips, and then they'll walk a few inches closer to your knees. So they're just on beside your legs on your mat. From here, we're gonna press the hands down into the mat, and we're gonna lift and swing the hips through the arms and come through reverse tabletop. Okay, so from here, we're gonna swing back, our hips go back through the arms, and we are on our heels as we do this. Don't lower the butt, keep it lifted. Swing through. So you inhale as you come to reverse tabletop, exhale, you swing down. Inhale up, exhale. Let's do 5, 4, 3, 2, and stay reverse tabletop. Lift up higher for 3, 2, and go ahead, lower the hips down, hug the shins. Whew. Take a few breaths. I'm already hot and sweaty. Let's swing the legs around. And right away, we're gonna come right into downward facing dog. Not gonna be an easy class today. And I'm glad you came. I didn't wanna say it was gonna be hard and dissuade you from coming. But we're doing a lot of core work, and that's never easy. I personally hate working on my core like anyone else. So it's not easy for me today either. So we're in downward facing dog. Let's take a moment here to stay and breathe. And shake the head side to side. Downward dog in itself is a great prep pose for handstand. So prepping for handstand doesn't mean trying to do a handstand every single day. It means doing something that'll work toward that pose, maybe every day, maybe just every time you practice. And downward dog is a great prep pose for it. You're putting a lot of weight into your shoulders, which is what handstand's all about. You're stretching out the hamstrings, which can help bring you into handstand pose. Press into the floor. Nice job. Let's lower the knees down, take a little rest. Let's go into puppy pose or heart melting pose, Ardha Chandrasana. not Ardha Chandrasana. Bring the elbows down, hands together. Drop the head down between the elbows. Keep the hips lifted. So the focus here is mainly to open the chest. Breathe here, forehead is down towards the floor. Take some relaxing deep breaths. You can press your fingertips together, separate the palms, get deeper stretch in the shoulders. I was thinking, Hatasana, I always forget that name. Nice, let's come up, tabletop, and then we come into plank pose. Plank pose, let's stay here, take a few breaths and get strong. So I've said this before, every time I think we've done plank in class, I would if you can't find this middle zone, let's say you have, I don't know, some lower back pain when you come into this regular style plank pose, I would much rather have you lift the hips up too high, not too high, just higher than the center, than have your hips too low. When you do this, you bring more compression to the lower spine that you might not want. So I'd rather see here if you can't come into the middle here. Pressing the floor away, pressing the fingertips down into the floor. Maybe start to shift forward and back, pressing back into the heels and shifting the shoulders over the wrists. Let's do a few more. Breathe as you do this. Don't forget to breathe. Nice. Let's lower the knees down. Let's take another puppy pose or child's pose. Something to think about while you're doing your poses today is Mula Bandha. Mula Bandha, or bandhas in general, it means to bind. It means drawing in or energizing part of your belly, part of your root lock, anything like that, even the bottoms of your feet, that's Pada Bandha. And Mula Bandha is when you suck in the pelvic floor and you engage the lower abdomen as you do so. So try and engage the lower abdomen and the pelvic floor as you do these poses. It'll help keep you steady when you eventually do your handstand. Let's come back into our plank pose. And then we're coming into downward facing with an exhale. With an inhale, we slide forward into plank. With an exhale, we lift for downward. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Take a few more at your own pace. Maybe make little waves with your spine. Get expressive with it. It makes the time go by a little bit better when you're doing these difficult core arm poses. And let's all meet in our plank pose. We're taking a quick side plank on our left hand, lifting the right arm. You can stack the feet on top of each other, or for a little bit of an easier pose, you can have them in line at the bottom of your mat, reaching up toward the sky. Let's go right into the other side. Right hand comes down, switching to the outside of the right foot, lifting the left arm. Switching one more time. Left hand lifts the right. Nice job. And right hand down, lift the left. Nice. Let's come down to plank and then lower the knees for modified plank. Let's take the hands a little bit wider so your pinkies touch the edge of your mat. You can tuck your toes behind you, and we're doing 10 push-ups modified. Unless you're really into normal push-ups, then be my guest. But personally, I absolutely suck at doing push-ups, and this gives me enough of a workout. So let's go ahead. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let out a big scream as you push up. Let's sit down on our shins. Take a breath, take a sip of water. That's a lot of work. Maybe let's take a quick little break and do a little neck stretch while we're here. We're sitting on the heels. You can also sit on a blanket between the heels and the butt, or you can sit on a block. Let's lift up the right arm, bend the elbow, grab underneath that left ear, and slowly just tilt the head over to the right. You get an extra little stretch if you take that left hand and just grab the outer right thigh. Close the eyes, take a few breaths. You don't need to have a super released neck to do handstand, but it just feels nice to do it anyways. Let's switch side, release the right hand, left arm lifts up, bend the elbow, grab underneath the right ear, gently pulling the head towards the left. Anytime you do any kind of side bend or back bend of the spine, right now we're doing a side bend, you want to make sure you're getting extension first, and then you're coming into the bend. So you're not just here and cranking the head down, you're feeling a lifting sensation of the head and then a tilt. Take a few more breaths. And again, for a deeper stretch, you can take the right hand and just gently grab the outer left thigh across your lap. Nice. Slowly come out of it. Whew. From here, we're on tabletop. And we're just bringing that left foot forward. Let's take the right foot back and coming into a low lunge. So we're untucking the right toes. Press into the left foot, swing the arms up. Up to you if you want to bring a back bend into this pose. I naturally just put a back bend in everything, and that's not always a good thing. So it takes a little bit of extra focus on my body. Maybe you're similar. And sometimes when we do come into a back bend, we let go of the core. So let's all actually hug in the belly and not have any back bend today, now that I think about it. Drawing the belly in. So we talked about Mula Bandha, which is that sucking in of the pelvic floor, which engages that lower abdomen. And Uddiyana Bandha is sucking in of the abdominal region in and up. Now we don't want to do full Uddiyana Bandha when we do yoga through the asanas. And that's because doing full Uddiyana Bandha actually restricts breath. And we don't want to do that. We'll call it Uddiyana Bandha light, or I'll just say suck in the belly. Let's bring the hands down, switch sides, coming through plank, and just bring the right foot forward, left knee down, untuck the toes. Maybe you look in your computer and you see your reflection and see if you have that back bend, or if you don't, and let's get rid of that back bend for now. It might require you pushing more into that right foot. Who knew that a low lunge could be an ab workout? Just bring the hands down to the floor, tuck the back toes, and just step it forward. So we're in a forward fold. Feel free to grab a block if you want to bring it underneath your hands, just to give yourself something to grab onto if you're not quite flexible yet in the hamstrings. You can also grab 2 blocks if you have 2 blocks. You know, no need to push yourself into a position you're not ready for, which actually can hurt your body. Just bending one knee at a time in your forward fold. From here, let's take gorilla pose. So we're sliding the palms underneath the feet. Maybe you like to walk the toes closer to the wrists if you have this pose really deep. You can always bend the knees a little or even a lot. You can rest your whole chest or belly or both on the thighs or knees. Go ahead, drop the head down. If you feel like straightening the legs, that's fine too. Let's release the feet. Let's take one more forward fold while we're here. Use your peace fingers, index and middle fingers on each hand, grabbing the big toes. Let the elbows fly out to the sides and drop the head down between the shoulders. Shoulders should be close to touching your ears or even touching them. And I'll face the camera so you can see how much my elbows actually go out to the sides. Really rounding the spine. Take 3 deep breaths here through the nose. Let go of the head, nice and heavy. Holding no tension in the head. No tension in the neck. Nice. Release the hands. Super slow, bend the knees. Let's roll to rise and take 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come all the way up. Inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, let's bring the hands to heart center. So if you haven't noticed, standing up nice and tall is very similar to doing a handstand. You just happen to not be upside down. So let's take that a step further, bringing the hands up to the sky. You can just reach your arms up, or better yet, you can face the palms to the front of your room. So facing the same way that your face is facing. Reaching up, again, we're hugging the belly in, similar to Uddiyana Bandha, but Uddiyana Bandha is much stronger. So we're doing a light version of that. Mula Bandha, we're engaging the pelvic floor. And Pada Bandha, we're engaging the fascia on the bottom of the feet. Plantar fascia, you can lift the toes up off the floor, creating a deeper looking arch in the feet, rolling the shoulders down and back. When we lift the arms up here, we don't want to lift the shoulders. So it's not the same kind of pose we did in that forward fold, right? Because when we're in the toes pose, the elbows to the side, we're encouraging the shoulders close to the ears. But when we're here, we want the shoulders to be low away from the ears. So you're already doing a handstand technically, you just happen to be not upside down. I wish it were this easy. Let's bring the hands to heart center. Nice job. Keep the belly hugged in. Keep Mula Bandha, pelvic floor locked in. Inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold down. Let's step 1 foot back in the next. Take your regular chaturanga or modified knees to the floor first. Inhale to back bend. And come through to downward facing. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take 4 breaths. When you're ready, look forward. Let's just step forward 1 then the next. Inhale halfway. Exhale, fold. Whew. Bend knees, slowly roll to rise. Inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, Tadasana, hands to heart center, hug belly in. And maybe this is when you look at your camera again and see yourself at a side. And if you're facing the camera, maybe turn and look at yourself doing Tadasana. You want to drop the lower back and the tailbone and lift the belly up a little bit. Maybe even do what I'm doing, taking one hand to the lower back, pushing it down, lifting the belly up and in, and getting rid of the back bend. Because naturally, if you're like me, you're kind of doing a back bend all the time. Let's get rid of that. Hug the tailbone underneath, lift the belly. Because if you're doing this in a handstand, you're not going to be staying there, and it's actually really not great for your back to be doing that. But if you're like this in a handstand, hugging the belly in, tailbone tucked under, that's what it more looks like in this pose. From here, we're taking eagle pose. We're pressing the left foot down, lifting the right knee, crossing it over, finding a balance, or falling if you're me today. Let's have right knee over, left arm under. Get a little lower. Let's tuck the tailbone. Let's unravel and step the foot back, taking a lunge. Crescent lunge pose. Ashta Chandrasana. Eagle arms stay. We're lifting the arms up. Let's take the elbows down towards that left thigh. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, coming down. Let's inhale, lift up. Unravel the arms, bring them to your hips. And from here, we're going to step the right foot forward a little bit, taking pyramid pose. Feel free to grab your blocks if you have them. You don't need them. Just know that you can always use your fingertips as a prop. We're going to open the chest and start to bow down towards that left thigh. Always bring a micro bend into that left knee to start. And then bring the hands down to the floor. And then maybe round the upper spine, the cervical spine. If you feel like straightening the left leg, it feels good, go for it. You don't need to do that in order to get a hamstring stretch here. Take a couple breaths to stay. Nice, take 2 more breaths before we move on to the next pose. Surprisingly, we're flying through class today. I did not think that would happen. From here, press into that left foot, bend the knee a lot, and then we lift the right leg, standing split pose. Lifting that right leg as high as you can. Yes, you can open the hip, unless you don't want to. Lift it up nice and high, bend the knees, step it forward, take a forward fold, bending one knee at a time. Let's come all the way up and stand. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Practice getting rid of that back bend now. Hugging the belly in, dropping the lower spine, lifting the belly up and in. Shoulders down. Other side for eagle, pressing the right foot down, left knee crosses over right. Right arm under, left arm over. Always takes me a minute to figure that one out. Coming down, get rid of that lower back lifting. So we're dropping the tailbone, scooping it underneath. Lift the elbows a little bit higher. Find your drishti or focal point on your wall. Let's unravel the legs and step the left foot back, crescent lunge, keeping eagle arms. Not an easy transition. Nice job. Lift the elbows up. Inhale, take it down, elbows to the right thigh. Inhale to lift the elbows. Exhale to lower. Inhale and exhale. Unravel arms, hands to hips. Take the left foot a little closer to the right. Open the chest with an inhale, exhale, forward fold for pyramid pose over the right thigh. And then you can lower the arms down, fingertips to the floor, bending that right knee a little, a lot, or if you like to not bend it, that's fine. Let's drop the head down while we're here. Shake the head out. No, I don't want to do any more crunches. No more today, I promise. Start to bend that right knee. Let's come into the right foot once again. Lift that left leg, other side, standing split. It can be open or closed. Lift it a little higher. Holding for a couple breaths. Bend the left knee. Let's have it come all the way down. Forward fold, bending one knee at a time. Let's see if we have time for one more pose. And we do. Awesome. So before we come into our handstand practice, which will not be as scary as it sounds, we're going to just do a tree pose. And we're just going to start with the left foot. Lower the left foot down. Right foot comes into the thigh. You can just kickstand the foot if you'd like on the floor. If you don't press into the inner knee, you can actually bring it to the inner knee, as long as you don't press the foot in. Sometimes you like to grow the arms. Feel free to flip me off. Can't see me, I'm flipping you off too. If you're missing road rage right now. Let's come down, switch sides. Other foot comes into the inner thigh or down on the floor. It's more about the balance than where your foot is. Here, we're just getting used to a little bit of balance. Having a nice, long, straight line for your body. Nice. Undo that foot. Now, before we come into any practice with handstand, we want to come down and do a little bit of wrist openers, because if you're like me, I just like to kind of fly through things. I just get so excited about doing inversions. I get excited about getting the handstand or getting whatever pose it is. And I forget sometimes, even as a yoga teacher, to stretch out certain things to prevent injury. So let's do that all together and make sure we all get that. So if you do practice handstand at home, at the very least, do your wrist openers before to prevent any wrist injuries, okay? So we're just coming on, let's tuck the toes underneath and sit back on the heels. We're gonna bring the fingertips down to the floor, palm is facing away from us, and just gently press the wrist down toward the floor. I'm not gonna lower the entire palm or even most of the palm on the floor. I am not double jointed, I'm not flexible in the fingers. Maybe you are. Just gonna do this a few more times, just slowly lifting and lowering the hands. There's so many ways to open the wrists, prepare the wrists for an arm balance. Now let's come off the heels, take a tabletop, and then we're gonna see if we can point the fingertips toward the knee. So if you can bring the whole palm to the floor, or you can actually make your hands go at a 45-degree angle. Or actually, I don't know what angle that is. I'm not great at math all the time, but it's between your fingertips pointing forward and all the way back. Find something in between. You can even have your fingertips facing away from each other so the wrists face each other. If that feels like a stretch, then go for it. Find what feels like a stretch for you. And then take your knees a little bit wider. So they're actually wider than your wrists. We're taking little circles in one direction. As you come back in your circle, we're lifting the wrists up off the floor. So it's kind of similar to what we just did. We're just getting a little deeper into the wrist. Let's go in the opposite direction in our circles. Nice. Let's do one more thing to prep the wrists. Let's just sit down on our heels. We're gonna bring the fingertips behind the thumbs and just flick the fingers away. Just start doing this a little bit faster. At first, it feels kind of silly. It feels like not a lot's going on. Maybe you start to feel it. Waking up the muscles in the hands. Let's do this for 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice job. Bring out the right hand in front of you, palm facing away. Take your other hand, draw the fingers in toward you. Drop that right shoulder. Thumb can be hanging out. Take a breath to stay. Other side, left palm faces away. Other hand draws fingers back, drop the left shoulder. Nice. And then we're just gonna roll them out and see how it feels. It's a great thing to do if you work at your computer. That's really great to prevent, the potential carpal tunnel from settling in, especially if it runs, in your family or something like that. All right, let's get ready to get towards the wall. So if you don't have the wall near you right now, why don't you go drag, actually you don't even really need your mat unless you like it to feel a little bit comfier underneath your hands. Like this provides some pretty good cushion under my wrist. So that's why I like to use this. So I'm gonna turn my computer to face the wall a little bit better. Sorry, you kind of see my ugly table there, but. All right, so looks like everyone's pretty much ready. Cool, looks good. So I love handstand, not because I can do it well, but because it's fun to try. And it kind of makes you feel like a kid. And it certainly doesn't make you feel like a kid in terms of practicing it, because it's so damn hard and kids can just fucking fly into anything, right? But when you do it and you get a little bit better at it and a little bit better, that's when it starts to feel really good, because you feel that little lift, that little piece of, the little bit of air you're getting. And, you know, maybe right now it doesn't feel fun, but eventually I hope you get to that point. Let's start in downward facing dog. So the wall is obviously right in front of us. So we're looking back at the feet, but the wall is in front of our head. We're in downward facing dog to start. And to start, we're just gonna start walking the feet towards the hand and stopping when we feel like we need to stop. We're rounding the spine. We're pressing the hands down. So we're taking a mini downward dog. And this feels incredibly hard, unless you just got this really jacked upper trap. Your back is just super strong. Let's walk the feet back, downward dog. And let's walk the feet forward again. Come onto your toes a little bit. Whew. Lower the heels, let's lift the heels. Lower them down, lift the heels, lower them at your own pace. All right, downward facing dog. Let's take a rest, knees come down. Let's take a child's pose. Let's come back up, downward dog. Now here's where it starts to get, actually, why don't you come down onto your knees again and just take a moment to listen, because I always like to make sure we're all on the same page in terms of taking care of ourselves and not bringing chaos into our practice, especially when we're doing something like an inversion, right? Even if we have a wall, there's always a potential for injury, especially if you're not careful. So just take a moment to watch. And if you've taken my class before and we've done an inversion, I'm sure you've heard this before. So just listen to me repeat myself all the time. But just go ahead and watch for now. I'm gonna start by lifting one leg and then the other. And then my dominant one, because you wanna start on a good note, right? So when I start my little hops, and that's the way I usually get into a handstand, I'm gonna keep my right leg, my lifted leg, straight. It's not really about height yet as we start this. It's about how strong that leg can be. And then I'm gonna try the other side, which feels super awkward. And then I'm gonna come down. And the key component of what I just did is I kept my lifted leg straight. I didn't bend the knee, and I didn't do anything that looked like this. That is not good. You don't want to bring chaos into your practice. You don't want to bring chaos into a situation where you could fall on your head, and that's very real. So just keep that in mind. Leg is strong. That will help keep you safe. So let's come into our downward dog. We're all coming into downward dog. We're starting just by lifting one leg at a time. Ekapada Adho Mukha Svanasana. It's a mouthful. Switch legs. Switch to your dominant leg. Little tiny bunny hops here, keeping that lifted leg strong and straight. And take a few hops and switch sides. I'm gonna go and see how you guys are doing. Nice. I see good control. All right, why don't you take a child's pose to rest? Because I'm sure your shoulders are just screaming at you and you're probably out of breath. So just take a moment. Maybe take a sip of water. Don't take too big sips because you don't want to take a big gulp of water and then come into handstand. All right, let's have one big finale here because I want to see if we can do one more handstand prep. And the way we're going to do it is different than we just did. So just watch for now. And I absolutely hate doing this way, but it's because it doesn't work for me, doesn't mean it won't work for you. Maybe this next version of prep for handstand will work better for you. So I just want to show you it. So I'm going to take, it's always kind of awkward to get into. So we're going to take a downward dog facing the opposite way. And then I'm going to walk my feet up the wall. And then walk my hands a little closer. You can keep walking your hands a little closer and just lifting one leg at a time. This is a much scarier way to do the pose. And just play with it here. Your legs don't have to be shooting up straight. You can have them open. Just practicing inverting. And slowly bring the feet down. Take a child's pose. Nice. You probably know what I mean now, how much scarier that feels. Because you don't have that little safety net in front of you. So, but it is nice to try to kind of inch yourself away from using that safety net once you feel a little more comfortable. So from here, we're coming onto our backs. We're hugging the knees in towards our chest. Rock a little side to side. I'll move my camera so it's facing my mat again. So at this point, we're just kind of cooling down. Let's take a lying twist. So we're gonna extend the left leg down, right knee crosses to left side, and you reach the right arm to right side. You can look over towards your right thumb. Take a few breaths. Let your heart rate come down a little bit. Switching sides, knees to chest. Extend the right leg, left knee to right side, left arm to left side. Take a few more breaths. Perfect. It's time to take your last and final pose before Shavasana. That can be anything from happy baby to plow to coming right into Shavasana to maybe you got that desire to try handstand one more time. It's totally up to you. Maybe you like to end with something against the wall. You can even take Shavasana against the wall, you know, pressing your sit bones into the wall. You can even do kind of a straddle with the legs or just lifting the legs up to the wall. And then come into your Shavasana pose. Whatever you like today. Everyone take a deep breath in. Exhale. Take two more like that. Inhale, big breath in. Exhale. Inhale. And sigh of relief, audible exhale to the mouth. Listening to the sounds around you. Again, arriving at your mat. Yoga and meditation, it's like constantly arriving in your own body. Constantly remembering to breathe, constantly remembering to focus on the here and the now. I think that's just a good simplification of what not necessarily enlightenment is, but what mindfulness is, just a constant remembering. If you're aware of your conscious mind, if you're aware of the subconscious mind, you can start to control your reactions, your emotions. Not to the full extent, but to an extent where you can maybe find a higher vibration or higher level of feeling or thinking. You feel more in control. So maybe next time you have a knee-jerk reaction, feel angry, or whatever that reaction is, just take a moment to remember that your mind is having a reaction. And when you realize that, maybe you start to feel a little bit different about whatever the situation is. You start to feel like you have a choice to react and what that reaction looks like. If your knees are open, or if you're in kind of hip opener, draw the knees in and come to one side of your body. Slowly press all the way up to a seat. Finding easy seated pose, Sukhasana. Dropping the ribs down, getting rid of any back bend you might have, remembering that from class today. Shoulders lower down. Bring the hands to heart center. And just maybe the rest of your night, take little moments to remember to be mindful. The light and dark in me loves and honors the light and dark in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for coming. If you're watching this on YouTube, we do this every week, putting all of our classes online. You could like and subscribe, that would be super helpful. For everyone on Zoom today, thanks so much for joining. It's amazing that you come to class every week and that you support my little brand, and everyone that's been shopping on the website, thank you so much. And thanks for being patient with the clothes being delivered late. I super appreciate that.